Welcome to your dose of wowness.
Welcome back to The Explainer. So, for the past 89 days, we've been on this intense, daily journey deep into the unexplained. And today, well, we're taking a breather. We aren't just looking back at where we've been, we're stepping all the way back to take the mountaintop view. We're going to survey the entire architecture of everything we've uncovered together, finding those hidden patterns that connect the sheer scale of the cosmos right down to the human mind.
Okay, I want you to really think about this for a second. What do a Siberian finger bone, a medieval Ottoman map drawn on gazelle skin, the gravitational constant, the collapse of the Silver Bridge, and the absolute last mammoth on Wrangel Island all have in common? I mean, on the surface, absolutely nothing, right? They span entirely different centuries, totally different domains of science, different types of evidence altogether. But the thing is, they all represent these very specific moments where the official comfortable account just runs out and genuine awe-inspiring uncertainty begins. So, here is our roadmap for today. We're looking at 5 unifying threads, 10 surprising discoveries, 5 totally unanswered questions, and finally, what we've actually built together. All right, diving right in, Section 1. 5 unifying threads, the framework of the unexplained.
You know, across all our deep dives into physics, history, and psychology, we really tried not to force categories onto the data. Instead, this hidden framework just naturally emerged on its own. The first, and honestly the most foundational thread, is what connects the colossal, seemingly unmovable stones of the Baalbek platform to the profound near-death experience of patient 57. It is a boundary line we just kept hitting over and over again.
And that thread is the official account runs out. In literally every domain we explored, there was a point where the most rigorous mainstream explanation simply stopped. And to be clear, we aren't pushing fringe theories here. We've just been neutrally, honestly documenting the exact, acknowledged limits of current knowledge, right at that boundary where the best researchers in the world hold up their hands and say, you know what? We just don't fully know yet. Let's move to our second thread and see how this builds. I want you to think back to the Scarberry and Millet families in Point Pleasant, or Avelino de Almeida staring up at the sky with 70,000 other people at Fatima. The crucial takeaway here is that the witness deserves respect. Throughout this entire journey, we consistently took human testimony seriously. Now, not blindly, of course, but with the baseline respect that honest, rigorous reporting demands. Even when standard skeptical explanations really struggled to account for all the details, we didn't mock the witnesses. Their experiences were real to them, and we chose to hold the tension of those unsolved mysteries. Now, our third thread forces a massive, and I mean massive, upgrade to our standard estimate of the deep past. It pretty much challenges everything we've ever been taught about human capability.
That thread is simply this: ancient humans were fully modern. The visionaries who designed Göbekli Tepe and the engineers who somehow leveled the Great Pyramid to within a mind-bending 2 centimeters, they totally contradict this myth of a slow, gradual, linear progress from primitive to advanced. Ancient people were immensely, unimaginably capable. The timeline of human ingenuity is just so much more complex than a straight upward line.
Our fourth thread emerged fiercely during our look into geology and ancient survival. And it's kind of a counterintuitive realization about how destruction acts as a catalyst.
Catastrophe is generative. Time and time again, the data showed us that the worst events in human history, things like the massive Younger Dryas climate shock and those huge megafaunal extinctions, they literally cleared the ecological and social stage. Actually, it's more like these immense, catastrophic stresses became the exact conditions of possibility that forced the agricultural revolution and birthed the Holocene era we live in today. And finally, the fifth thread of our intellectual framework. Honestly, this is the thread that defines the very core of why we even created this Explainer series to begin with. The question is the gift. As we saw when we looked at the neuroscience of wonder, the dopamine research on curiosity actually proves that an open question is way more neurologically valuable than a quick, dismissive answer. Refusing to force a premature resolution, that isn't a failure of research. It's the ultimate practice of sustained attention.
All right, moving on to Section 2. 10 surprising discoveries, the anomalies.
These are the specific anomalies that completely shattered our standard assumptions and, weirdly enough, made these mysterious subjects so much more humanizing than we ever anticipated. Get a load of this. Uranium-thorium dating places Spanish cave art at 65,000 years before present. Let that sink in. That is 20,000 years before modern humans even arrived in Europe.
This single data point utterly collapses the whole image of Neanderthals as these brutish, grunting primitives. The species we supposedly replaced was already making art. And this brilliantly illustrates just how deeply our perception of time is skewed. Think about the timeline. You have Aboriginal oral traditions accurately preserving coastal geography for 18,000 years. 18,000! And even wilder, isolated woolly mammoths were still alive on Wrangel Island just 3,700 years ago, meaning there was a living, breathing giant mammoth walking the earth on the exact same timeline that Egyptian pharaohs were building the pyramids. It's just wild.
Then we had this incredible moment of pure intellectual honesty. When confronted with the astonishing fine-tuning of the carbon resonance, Fred Hoyle, who was the most rigorous astrophysicist of his generation and a very committed atheist, publicly stated that a super-intellect has monkeyed with physics. He didn't convert, but he allowed the hard data to disturb his prior certainty. That exact approach, that is exactly what this explainer aspires to model.
We also had to unlearn a lot of our basic assumptions about human progress. Jared Diamond's worst mistake thesis hit us with hard data showing that early farmers were actually shorter, sicker, and worked way harder than the hunter-gatherers they replaced. The agricultural revolution was definitely a demographic advantage for the population as a whole, but a massive step down for the actual, everyday individuals living through it.
And when we stack the rest of these anomalies together, the sheer volume of them proves the truth is consistently stranger than the standard account. Near-death experience research? It wasn't just some fringe hobby. It was a longitudinal study published in The Lancet, literally the world's top medical journal. The Piri-Reis map was explicitly drawn from ancient, now extinct source charts. The cosmological constant holds a mind-blowing 120 order of magnitude discrepancy. That's the largest unsolved problem in physics today. The Great Pyramid wasn't built by magic or aliens. It was built by a meticulous bureaucracy, proven by the Diary of Mer. And those goosebumps you get when learning all this, they're an actual measurable physiological depth marker for awe that improves your cognitive flexibility.
Okay, Section 3. 5 unanswered questions. The horizon.
So, psychology teaches us about something called the Zeigarnik effect. It's this principle that people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks way better than completed ones. And look at the magnitude of the open loops we are deliberately leaving unresolved right now. What actually is consciousness, and why does subjective experience even exist? Did the Younger Dryas impact really occur, and what civilizational knowledge got wiped out? What did those thousands of witnesses at Fatima or folks in cardiac arrest wards truly experience? Why is the universe perfectly fine-tuned to permit minds capable of even asking these questions? And seriously, what else is buried down there in the post-Ice Age record? Leaving these loops open isn't a failure to find answers. It's a deliberate gift to your curiosity.
Which brings us to Section 4, what we built together, the practice.
Because honestly, beneath all the anomalies, the ancient maps, and the hard data, something much more profound happened over these last 89 days. We built a practice together, a practice of sustained, curious attention. By showing up, by engaging with this research, you actively chose the open question over the easy, premature answer. We co-created this amazing archive of serious, intellectually honest engagement with the unexplained. You prove that it is absolutely possible to hold genuine complexity without losing your sense of wonder.
And so, here we stand at the threshold. 89 days of mapping the spaces where the official account runs out. The questions that are actually worth asking are the ones that don't resolve quickly, right? They're the ones that return to you in those quiet moments and completely change how you see the ordinary world around you. I really hope the carbon resonance bothers you a little bit. I hope that mammoth on Wrangel Island stays with you. Whatever you think this explainer project has been so far, what does it become on day 90? Well, tomorrow, the door opens onto season 2. Stay curious, and I'll see you there.